Hi everyone! Today's tutorial is going to be side crow. So we'll be working on drills to start to build up the strength and build up the flexibility to get into this pose. You'll be needing 2 blocks and we're going to start off with some wrist warm-ups. So just place your blocks off to the side and come to your tabletop position. In your tabletop, make sure that your fingers are spread and you're starting to press down into the pads of the fingers. Now it's really important that we get this foundation and this prep right, because in side crow, the arm balance, you're placing quite a lot of weight on your hands. So you want to get familiar with that feeling of pushing down and grounding down into the hands. Try to press down evenly into all 10 fingertips and press down into your knuckles. And you're going to shift your weight forward when you inhale. Notice how you'll start to get a stretch there through the base of the wrist and the forearm. And at first you might feel like it's quite scary and there's a lot of weight coming forward. So you're going to use your fingertips to push back against the floor like brakes, like you're putting on the brakes there to stop yourself from coming too far forward. Then when you exhale, you're just going to sit your hips back. And you can even tuck the toes under, just sit the hips all the way back towards your heels. We'll repeat that 5 times. Inhale to come forward, putting the weight into the fingertips, leaning a little further forward. And then exhale, sitting the hips back. Inhaling to come forward. Exhaling to sit back. 3 more times like this. Notice how with each round, as your wrists start to warm up and start to open a bit more, you'll get a little bit more comfortable with this movement. You might even find it easier to bring the shoulders further forward. Okay, and then now I'm just going to flip the palms the other way so that you're turning the palms to face up, fingers can point back. And you can just do little side to side movements here, like you're massaging gently into the back of the hand. Try not to push down too hard into the back of the hand, just nice and light. You can wriggle the fingers and clench your hand into a fist. And repeat, clenching the hand into a fist and spreading the hand. And then you can come up to a fist on the side while we switch sides, bringing the back of that left hand down, palm facing up, pressing down lightly into the back of the hand, then clenching your hand into a fist and spreading the fingers and just repeating that. Okay, and then coming back to center. Okay, so we're going to get familiar with the twist that happens in the side crow position. Side crow isn't just about putting the weight on your hands, but you've also got a twist happening. So we want to warm up a little bit more into our back body and then start to work a little bit deeper into the twist. So let's just sit over to one side. Then bring the legs out in front of you and hugging your knees into the chest. So you're going to wrap the arms around your knees and sit up nice and tall. Try to open through the chest, and now here, start to pull that lower belly in, keeping a straight spine first. You'll notice a bit of engagement already through the abdominal muscles here, a bit of strength happening through the front of your thighs as well. I'm going to keep that straight spine and just add a gentle twist here. So your left arm's going to wrap around the knees, right hand will come behind you, push down lightly into the fingertips and just sit up nice and tall on the inhale. Exhale to twist. Here, notice how your knees want to open apart. So we're going to squeeze those knees, squeeze the thighs together. Pull the knees across your chest with your left hand and then rotate the right shoulder back. Sitting up tall on the inhale. Exhale to twist. And you can even look back with your gaze. So you're twisting all the way along the spine. Holding here for 2 big breaths. And then coming back to center. Now let's just do the same thing on the other side. So keep squeezing those knees together. Notice how this will activate your inside thighs. Start to switch on your pelvic floor as well. Right arm wrapping around your knees, left arm behind you, pushing against the fingertips, sitting up tall on the inhale, and then exhale, twist. Looking back to your left shoulder, and taking a big breath in, big breath out. 2 breaths, keep squeezing those knees. And then coming back to center. Now let's add a little bit more to that twist. So this time, we're going to bring the right hand behind us again. But instead of just wrapping the left arm around the knees, keep squeezing the knees together, still sitting up tall. Bring your left elbow to the outside of your knee. And you're using this elbow as a bit of leverage to push the knee away, and then you'll get a bit of a deeper twist here. Okay, so working a bit deeper through that lower back, starting to get used to this feeling of pushing the knees back and really getting the elbow right down just below this femur bone, this thigh bone, to the outside of the knee here. So you can push and twist here. If you can't quite get your elbow there, you might just be working with the elbow on this side, but we want to begin to work the elbow a little further down because this is where the elbow is going to be sitting in the side crow position. So just feeling that twist, that stretch through the sideways, through the lower back, and then swap sides. So left hand behind you. Remember, knees are still squeezing. Right elbow coming to the outside of your knee. Sit up tall and exhale to push the knees away with your elbow. Keep turning that chest. If this twist is already feeling really strong for the lower back, you might want to just stay here today and just focus on these twists. Because now we're going to start to put some of these things together, still working on that twist, but begin to work into that positioning of the arms. So we're going to use the blocks here now. Come up into a toe squat. You're just tucking the toes under, squatting with the hips down towards your heels, knees are up. Place your blocks just on the long edge and bring them off to the right side. So notice how this is quite similar to what we just did in the twist. And we're going to try to bend the elbows and bring this left elbow to the outside of the right knee, just like the twist you did. Bringing that elbow in and pushing the knees away from you. The difference this time though is we're beginning to round into our back. So the shoulders will come forward and we can spread across the shoulder blades like a cat spine. This will allow us to use a bit of strength to start to push down into the floor, push down into the blocks. Knees are still squeezing together. So just work on this, balancing up on the balls of your feet, pushing away from the blocks with your hands, getting used to that twist here. If you're not quite used to this, you might start to feel a bit of a cramp after a while, so just come out and just stretch back out. But if this is okay, you can begin to bring the blocks lower. Notice how the elbows still stay bent. This left elbow is still wedging to the outside of your knee, and palms start to come down lower. If this is still okay, you might not need the blocks at all. You just bring the hands flat onto the mat. Now, actually putting weight into the hands for your side crow, you're going to keep the hands about shoulder width apart, just as if they're still on the blocks. This elbow still is underneath that thigh bone, femur bone, and there are 2 options here with your right elbow. So you can keep it here, just wedging it into your hip. This will create a bit more of a squeeze through the side body, so just see how that feels for you. Otherwise, you might want to keep your hand a little bit wider and just keep this elbow out to the side. Personally, I like to use the elbow in my hip, and that creates an extra ledge to prop up the hips, whereas having the arm out will require a bit more strength through your shoulders and your arms, but it will feel less intense through the lower back and the side body. So you can try out both ways. So I'll show you what both look like. first one, you're going to bring the elbow into the hip. Bring it also underneath the hip here, not just on top near the hip bone. Bring it lower towards the outside of that thigh. Then you're going to begin to push your hips into the tricep. Elbows have to stay bent, so you've got a ledge here for your hips to rest on. Just like before in the tabletop, press down into the fingertips. Lean your weight forward, look forward. And then you're just gonna gradually start to shuffle your toes back away from you, and then let your feet float up. So I'll show you again on the second side, because we're just gonna do the same thing on the second side. And I'll show you from a different point of view. So let's say blocks here. I'm gonna find the twist here, starting with the blocks on the higher height. Elbows, starting to press down into the outside of the knee, finding that twist. You can bring your blocks lower. See how the knees still stay squeezing together. Stay here, or now bring your blocks lower, or bring them out of the way completely. Palms flat, hands shoulder width apart. Okay, and then this elbow, I'm gonna start with wedging it in to the hip. Then I'm gonna look forward. Toes will begin to shuffle back as you lean more into your hands. And then one foot will lift, then your other foot will start to lift as well. Now, if you're going to do it with the elbow out to the side, elbow free, what that's gonna look like is instead of elbow into the hip now, hands will be a little bit wider. Keep this elbow nice and strong. Look forward. You can start to shuffle your toes further back. Lean forward, and then the toes will float up. Okay? So, a bit of a jump to go from the twist to start to transition your way into the hands. But that's basically the steps that we're gonna take to get into side crow. Finding the twist first, and then gradually beginning to find your balance. It's an arm balance, so try not to just jump into it. Notice how as I come through this, I'll show you from here, I'm looking forward. I'm just leaning, slowly transitioning the weight, and the feet will eventually float up because you've got that counter point, that counterbalance, where your feet have to lift as you lean further forward. So I hope you found the drills and these exercises helpful, helping you to start to get that positioning of where your elbows should be. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, have fun and happy practicing.